Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Healthy Indoors live show. I'm your host, Bob Krell. I'm the founder and publisher of Healthy Indoors magazine, and thanks for joining us. So welcome to all of you in our live virtual studio audience, as well as those of you watching us on the variety of live stream portals we have it going to, the healthyindoors.com site, multiple Facebook pages, and YouTube and LinkedIn today for first. So as always, we have our amiable co-host, Mr. Joe Madosh, joining us today. So that's exciting. Joe wasn't here a week ago. And also joining us as our guest today is Rachel Rubbelet. She is the head of laboratories for Inspirotech Incorporated. And we're going to be talking about some of their innovative new technology for performing air samples in the indoor environment. I'm real excited to get into this. Kind of a breakthrough. So we've been off for a couple weeks. We took a pause during the IAQA live virtual conference a couple weeks ago, and so hey, we're back. So great for you to be here, and we're looking forward to a great conversation. So with that, how are you, Joe? How are things?
I think things are good. Hopefully, everybody else as well who's out there. So we're excited to finally have an audience to participate versus Bob and I trying to banter back and forth and harass our guests by ourselves. So we are looking forward to having more folks. So you may see people pop on, and we will actually pull your video down. Just it's not that we don't want you to be there. It's just we don't want to see you exactly right now. But we will
Yeah, but
focus
don't take that
in a few
personally.
minutes. Yeah, don't take it
We will
personally.
we will allow you to be seen at a certain point. So
Right.
again, I guess the reminder here now that we're live again, if you're part of our live virtual studio audience, there's a reactions button at the bottom of your control bar in your Zoom meeting. Hit that reactions tab button and it'll open up an option to raise your hand. So raise your hand. With us today, our moderator, who has been our moderator for several weeks now, is the editor of Healthy Indoors magazine, Susan Valenti, longtime friend and longtime industry person. She's been around in this industry darn near as long as I have. I mean, really close. Like we're so Susan's not going to show her camera now. I just have a feeling. But anyway, Susan will be there monitoring your chat from the live studio audience, answering your questions. When you raise your hand, she'll give you the opportunity to turn your camera on live and your microphone so you can be live with our audience. So anyway, with all that, now we got all the, oh, well, I guess we're out of time now. Anyway, Rachel, great for you to be here. We met a year ago at the IAQA event when it was in person down in Orlando.
Mhm.
It was in West Palm Beach,
West
right?
Palm Beach.
It was
Yep.
West Palm Beach. And I was intrigued by your technology, what you're doing. So the device is the air answers unit, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us, I guess, Joe, I mean, I know you have a series of questions you want to do, but let's want to do a quick overview. Let's tell us a little bit about what's going on with this air answers thing. This is new technology.
It's a new breakthrough technology. It uses ionic propulsion to collect samples and to moves 150 liters of air per minute through the device. So any particulate matter that's in that air that goes to the device is captured on an internal cartridge. There's 2 electrodes where the particles bind. So we have a laboratory service. So we test for a variety of different allergens. Mold, for mold, we do beta glucan as a measure of mold biomass in the room. We also do SARS-CoV-2, which is super exciting. And that's kind of what our main focus is right now until this pandemic comes to somewhat of an end. We've been kind of really pushing the monitoring of the SARS-CoV-2. But so yeah, that's kind of what we have. So it is a breakthrough technology, and we're very excited about it.
So I just want to wait. I just want to clarify because we get so you do a allergen profile, which is hard to find
Correct.
today from in a variety of testing methods,
Yeah,
and you do have a mold sample that's included with that. Is that correct, or are those separate?
correct. No,
Yeah,
those are, you can either get the allergens with the mold, or you can get the mold separate.
got it.
But
And then you
yeah,
actually do the SARS-CoV-2,
yeah,
yeah, COVID-19 as we call it today, as a sample. So there's a lot of folks who've been trying to figure out how to do that for especially commercial environments. They want to know, was there an exposure or was there something happening? So
oh yeah.
yeah, right.
We've
That's
had a
great.
lot of interest from companies who want to validate their sanitation protocols that they've put into place. They have particular instruments that clean the air, and they want to validate those, that what they have in place is also removing the virus from the air. So it's you know.
And we'll talk about this later, but based on our pre-call, all these are incredibly affordable. We're really shocked that you're able to bring this type of testing application into the market. It's something that everybody here listening could actually add to their testing opportunities. It'd be like, oh, this is not a $10,000 test for people to do. These are all things that are very affordable. So we
No, it's
applaud
very
you as to what you're
affordable.
doing. Mhm.
Yes, it's extremely affordable. And what we do is we kind of work with the particular customer on developing a package. But I can say our device, just our device alone, but it's a device you can keep in your home, and you just have to in your commercial space and just purchase the cartridges for testing. But the device, if you just want it by itself, usually goes for about $4.99. But again, our sales team works with all of our customers on finding the right package, the right pricing, everything catered to that particular need.
So the more you test, the better you actually have as an opportunity. So
yeah, exactly.
That's the kind of thing my wife throws at me. The more you buy, the more you save. No, I had to because, and I said, no, the more you buy, the more you spend. But that's another story. I'm intrigued about by this technology is we classically in the industry take snapshot samples for airborne tests. Now, and there's some exception to that, right? When you use low volume pumps, sometimes there's 4 or maybe 8 hour samples, but rarely do we ever take a sample longer than 8 hours in an indoor environment for the most part. So it's still, and that's, if it's a low volume sample, there's not all that much, the volume of air. I always like to compare spore traps. Like, for example, we're typically, if we're doing 15 liters per minute for 5 minutes, we take about 2.5 cubic feet of air. That's it. That's all we're analyzing. So your technology is different in that you're moving a lot of air, and it's a longer duration sample, correct?
Correct. For allergens and mold, we do a 5-day sample that gives you kind of a whole representation of, the allergen load or the mold load in that particular area during that 5-day period of time. So you're not getting those one-off peaks that, are going to rapidly change. So it takes that into consideration. And with SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19, it's 3 days. So yeah, you're getting a nice idea over that period of time and what you're being exposed to.
So you have the option of doing as many of these testing things do, although they're short in time and space, is I can do one area, or because of the amount of time that I'm gathering, I could actually do a multi-room sample, for a day each in some of these rooms. So I think that you're providing a different process than most of us are used to in terms of our sampling collection. So especially if you're somebody who does this, I would be like, okay, I'll be back in 2 days. Let's get a collective discovery of what's happening in this environment, and you can do that. So that's really
it's a high volume sampler. It's 150 liters per minute of air go through the thing. So you can put it in a centralized location and in a building and measure everything. If you have doors or rooms that you're particularly interested in, you can have the rooms open to those, and then you're getting a collection of everything that full entire area instead of just one particular area of the room or one particular room itself. But I mean, you can also do rooms, if you're interested in that too.
So let's answer everybody's questions right now. So how are you able to gather that much information, or you're not overloading your media? So why don't you kind of talk about the technology to explain why you can do a long-term sample? Yeah, great.
Yeah, I'll give you a little demo here. Here's our device. You can see it's very, very small. It's easily compact. You can move it around easily. It's not clunky. You have these little cartridges that it comes with. It comes in these little plastic containers. I'm going to open one of these and put it in. So you see it's not, these electrodes are where the samples collect. So you can see it's not a filter. You don't have to worry about it clogging or saturating. It's an electrode. So you push it in the bottom there. Put that on and plug it in. It's ready to go.
Rachel, that's pretty complicated. I don't know if many of our listeners can actually handle something like that. That's really like, wait, can you do it again? Okay.
I'll do it really slow this time.
Yeah. But
So
because those electrodes are there, you, like you said, you don't have a media, there's no filter, you
no
can
media,
you can
there's no filter.
capture. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's no moving parts, correct? I mean, this
There's
thing,
no moving parts.
and conceptually, and I'm going to sound ignorant here, but is a similar concept to how the Dyson fan works with no blades, or not really?
I think that's different than the ionic propulsion. I don't know
Okay.
exactly what technology they use for that,
But
but
still a mechanical less device.
yeah,
Mechanical less. No, that's
Well,
not the
it's
word.
something that's hard to describe as to how that works.
It's
Okay.
hard for me to pronounce, but yeah, I mean, it's neat. Now there is a finite amount of material you can capture on those electrode plates, right? I mean, there's a certain point where you can't run a sample for an indefinite period of time, correct?
yeah, I mean, we do see a plateau over a period. That's why we have these certain days set up. So for allergens and mold, we have it 5 days. Well, there's a reason why it's 5 days. Is because we've done testing where we've tested a device 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 days, and you can see an increase of the allergen that's collected in that time, and then at 5 days it starts to plateau. So there's no difference between 5 and 6 days. I mean, you could run it for 6 days, but it's not going to really make any difference. So yeah, there is a plateau.
So my question is, I guess, this was my thought a year ago, when we met in person, back when, and again, that IAQA convention last year in 2020 was one of the last industry conventions before everything started shutting down. And I was intrigued by it. But so what prompted your company to go down this path with, because this obviously you're presenting somewhat of a paradigm shift on how to gather information, right? What's flying around in an indoor environment? What's the impetus behind this for you guys? Like, how'd you even come up with this?
All right. Well, our co-founder, Julian Gordon, he's also our chief scientific officer. He's the one who came up with this invention and invented this. He's also known for like the Western blot and for lateral flow and used in pregnancy tests. But anyway, he met with our other co-founder, and the first idea for the device was to be used to collect pathogens. So they were going to be using it for biowarfare, collecting pathogens, and then there was some work done with the Army. So that was the original use of it. But after that period of time, it was found that it could also collect allergens and collect other things other than just those biowarfare agents. So that's kind of where it started from.
And when we met a year ago, you guys were really close to launch, and then obviously the SARS-CoV-2 pandemic hit, and that caused a shift on your part, did it not? As far as how you handle it?
Yep, it was a big shift because of the pandemic. Everything shut down, just like everywhere else, shut down for a couple months. And we knew our device had captured different viruses previously. We had some work that we did with the U.S. Army with equine encephalitis, excuse me. But we had some work done with that, so we thought, okay, well, if we could capture that, maybe this device can capture COVID as well. So we were approached by the University of Chicago. The University of Chicago is doing a pretty large study on COVID-19 in hospital rooms. And so they approached us about this. We worked together on it, and they were the first ones to find that our device does in fact collect the COVID-19. That particular study, which was really exciting. I know it's still a terrible time, but I mean it was exciting breakthrough for us. And then after that, we all pivoted. All of us worked very, very hard, and we're all very passionate about this device and about, we're all kind of, I don't know, do-gooders. We just want to make things better for people. So we pivoted pretty quickly. We built up the laboratory specifically for COVID-19. We do the RT-PCR for the COVID-19 in our laboratory. We bought up all the equipment. It was a big push, as I probably was with everyone else who's doing anything with COVID-19. It was basically get everything together in a few months.
Maybe as a follow-up to that, the device, your collection device, really is capturing fine particulates. So in theory, right, it could capture almost anything flying in the air. So now it's the different analyses, right, the different assays that you perform on the materials you capture. So I mean, I would think it's almost limitless what you could actually sample for with this. Anything anything that could be caught on an electroplate, right?
Yep, we have papers that we've done in microbiome, where it's a collection of different the aerobiome analysis. So we're looking at different bacteria in the air. We have papers where it's known that we can collect different types of fungi. So I mean, we could do quite a bit with this, and in the future, our plan is to add on a lot of different options out of that menu, different viruses, different bacterias, things that maybe a consumer would be interested in seeing.
So there's a lot of questions in the chat that just went directly with what you were talking about. So let's talk about the size of what you're able to capture. All right. So somebody asking you go down to 0.1 microns and ultrafine particles, which I believe if you can grab viruses, you're able to do that. Is that correct?
Yes, we can go down to 0.1 microns.
And the other to follow up is how long. Someone asked about the COVID-2 test. If I would just want to do that test, how long do I actually have to get a good sample to confirm that I have accurate data? What would you recommend?
Well, you would run it for 3 days. So if I'm understanding the question right, you would run the device for 3 days. You send the cartridge into our laboratory. We run it, and we get the response back to you within those 2 days. So within a week, you'll have an answer.
And one that just kind of came to me as we were talking is that, okay, so I decided to do a COVID test. I send it back. Do you keep these? So like it could be later, but like, hey, by the way, can you go take that sample I gave you a month ago and go check it for allergens? Do you actually archive these so I could come back later to pull a sample off it?
Well, the one problem with that is, which is something that we're working on in R&D, is that if you're doing COVID and you're doing allergens and mold, you have to use 2 different devices. And that's because the media that we extract the sample off of those electrodes is different for COVID versus the allergens and mold testing. So that's definitely something that we're going to be working on.
Got it. But in general, let's just go back to the mold allergen. Like I did a mold.
We keep everything up to a year. So if you have a sample that provide us with, we'll keep that sample up to more if you want to, or purposes.
There was somebody else who wanted to clarify more about the mold and beta glucan. So I'm going to read it to you. So can you please clarify the instrument samples? Mold and beta glucans are not only allergenic, they are toxigenic. So I'd appreciate clarification as to how you're handling both of those, including toxigenic microbiologicals. Hard to read while being online.
Okay. Well, with beta glucan, we're looking at it as a way of looking at mold biomass in the particular environment. That's the purpose of that. It's the beta glucan that's being given off by actively growing mold. Our main purpose in doing that was to look at originally, what we were doing is we were looking at mold allergens, specific mold allergens for Penicillium, Cladosporium, Alternarian, Aspergillus. But unfortunately, with that, we were missing out on a lot of other molds that people would be interested in their environment. And that's one of the reasons we went to beta glucan, because it identifies all the molds, and majority of molds do express beta glucan. And what was the rest of that question?
I think you're answering it. It's kind of to clarify as to how do you distinguish between allergens and toxigenic microbiologicals?
Okay. Well, with the allergen testing, I can go into the testing as well. For the allergens we do is we have a sandwich ELISA based assay. So we have one of them. It's a multiplex bead based assay where the antibodies are bound to the beads and bind to the particular antigen that's in the sample. And with the beta glucan, it's a kinetic assay that is very specific for beta glucan in these particular samples. So it's a kinetic assay that we run on a plate reader. So yeah, two completely different assays. Allergens, very specific for those particular allergens. The mold test is not it's not allergenic mold test. It's a particular all over
It's an aggregate basically, right? You're just looking at a total load in the space basically.
Correct.
And again, I think the one thing that's, it may be hard for all of us to wrap our heads around a little bit is that it's looking at it a different way. I think everybody in the industry, at least, I've been doing sampling for 35 years now, 34 years. We're thinking in terms of snapshots and very, specific sample locations and not long duration. Now, I will say I'm old enough to have used the old Allergenco units where you could program multiple slide traces for spore traps.
Yeah.
So you could actually program that to do up to 20 slide traces on a single glass slide. So in a way it was taking 5-minute snapshots, but it could take repeated snapshots over a programmed interval. But this is a whole different, it's apples to oranges, right? We're not really, because we're looking at something that's constantly pulling a relatively high volume of air through a collection media.
Exactly. And then there's the question of people always say, well, air changes so much. Well, that's why it's good that we have it running over a long period of time. You can get kind of the reflection of that whole period of time instead of this little snapshot here, this little snapshot there. It's going to rapidly change. This will give you a better idea of what is actually there.
We did have somebody ask, do you do VOCs? So I'll let you explain why or if you do. So
we don't do VOCs. We actually we're talking about a possible. I don't want to go into it very much, but I know we were talking about a possible all-in-one device at one point where we were going to be doing all these different things, and that's something that's off into the future, but that's not something that we're currently doing.
Well, one of the challenges with VOCs, everything else you've talked about is I know exactly what it is, or I could identify what could be causing it. VOCs, it could be actually the person who released the test, their cologne, or something in the room that you never thought about. So VOCs are such a roll of the dice as to what it really is that's causing your test to show up.
Well, yeah, and in most cases, right, we're looking at TVOC. I mean, yes. in real time, right? We're using photoionization detectors, and we're doing a conglomerate with with a lamp that's calibrated to a certain wavelength, and yeah, it's like a mixed bag. I mean, that's not to say, obviously, there's also air grab captures where you're doing mass spectrometry on it, but I don't think that's done all that often. I mean, obviously, it's done for the lead certifications. But I think in general, IAQ diagnostics, it's probably people are using PIDs more than anything, correct? And most of the sensors, devices that are out there use some sort of a PID module in them, with all the real-time analysis things. So challenging.
Let's talk about the user briefly, Rachel, because we talked about our pre-call. I described there's two users. There's clearly the professionals, which is probably the majority of our audience, but these are also the kind of things where a homeowner just wants to know, God, I have allergens and I don't need to pay somebody $2,000 to come over and do the same test that I could do. So why don't you talk about what's your marketing strategy between professionals and actually direct marketing to homeowners who want to learn more about allergens in their house?
Well, our devices, what were our strategy right now, of course, with COVID, is our big focus on helping the larger establishments. So the corporations, the facilities, larger businesses, people that want help feeling, having employees feel safe coming back into the office place. So that's kind of our main focus. And then also with the indoor air quality professionals who are involved in those commercial spaces. But definitely it's very user friendly. It definitely be used in end user homes and customer homes. But we are, and so, I mean, they could definitely purchase it, but we mainly are targeting the indoor air quality professionals who have the businesses who want to incorporate airborne allergen testing and COVID testing into their repertoire. So this would be kind of like a tool you would have in your kit, so to speak. So, I mean, it is definitely something that we could be using for consumers, but that's not really our main target.
Follow up to that. So the device, obviously, you have the various collection plates for what you're going for, either the allergens or the SARS-CoV-2 collection plates. Is there a shelf life on these things, on these collection plates? Like, so a lot of the collection media that we use for other types of samples, some of it does have a shelf life, right? You can only keep.
Yeah,
Are these plates good indefinitely, or is there
definitely.
special
Yeah.
handling?
Steel plates. So they're little steel electrodes, and so yeah, they're good indefinitely. So
And as far as special handling, are there any? I noticed you kind of handled it pretty gingerly and just threw it in. That's the standard protocol how to handle it. You don't have
that is
to
the fair protocol.
don't
The
need to
only
glove
thing I
up
can
and do all
say,
that. And
no, the only thing I is okay. I'm going to take the cartridge out when you're sending it in, because the whole thing is you take it out of the device, you put it back into this little plastic piece that it came in, and then you put it in an envelope. Only thing I could say is don't touch the electrodes, because you don't want to contaminate the sample. So there's a little handle that you want to hold everything by. So put it in here. You just take this, and comes with an envelope. You get 4 cartridges in a box with 1 device. You can also buy the cartridges separately. They come in packs of 4. And there's an envelope. You put it in the envelope, and you can send it in the mail. We have a lot of customers who are also using the option of FedEx right now too, because of the post office is a little bit slow.
And just to confirm, because when we saw you a year ago, you guys were still like, here's what we're working on, but this is ready to go out the door. People can be actually adding this right now to their testing procedure.
Oh yeah, and people, we have had a lot of interest. People are definitely adding it.
So where do you see your device headed towards? What are some of your expansion concepts? There's nothing that we're trying to hold you to, but you're just the beginning of some of the things that this device can do. So once you kind of elaborate as to like, what we think 2 or 3 years from now, we'll be able to do. Yeah.
Well, the plan is, because everything right now with the focus on COVID-19 and everyone who's going through this pandemic, people are getting educated a lot more on air quality and, knowing what's in your air, what you're being exposed to. So the plan is to focus on adding more viruses. So influenza, measles, maybe different viruses that people would be interested in monitoring, and to add different, because it does different types of bacteria, different fungi. So it's important. What we're doing right now is finding out what customers want, looking at the marketplace, talking to customers, and finding out what they want them on in the future in their facilities, what they think is important. So, but yeah, we definitely, the whole plan is to past COVID-19, because that's probably going to be ending within next year, hopefully. So so the plan is to just kind of move on from that, and to collect multitude of different biologicals.
So to address Terry from the audience had a question here in the chat. He's still saying that he's uncertain what specific bioaerosols are sampled other than SARS-CoV-2. When you say it samples allergens, what specific allergens are sampled, or what do you define specifically as allergens?
Okay, well, we are identifying specific allergens. Allergens from cat, dog. So with cat, it's FeLD1. Dog, it's CAN-S1. We're doing mouse, we're doing, we're going to be adding rat. We are doing 3 different pollens, ragweed, timothy grass, and birch. Did I mention dust mite? We are doing dust mite, and our dust mite actually is not as a specific allergen. It does identify a multitude of allergens from 9 different species of domestic mite. So it, cross reacts with those different species. So if you have dust mites in your home, or even I think there was some different types of mites as well, then our device will pick that up and give you a particular concentration of the domestic mites in your environment as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because a lot of times, I know doing investigative work, wet environments, a lot of times we'll find the mites that actually feed on mold on environmental surfaces. And for the life of me, I cannot remember which species that is, but so I'm assuming maybe that's one of the ones that also would target.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And did you mentioned cockroach too, right? Cockroach
Yes.
allergen.
Yep.
So before we open up to the audience, I'm sure there's one anticipating question, is that how have you been vetted? Do you have any papers or what's going on with the confirming that this thing has had some feedback from other professionals like in our audience? So
Sure.
we can give the link to your website, but I just wanted you to go ahead and answer that as this. Yes, you guys have definitely done your due diligence.
We definitely have done our diligence. We're very science quality based at our company. We have a handful of different papers that we've done where we validated our own collection with the Johns Hopkins University. We do have some papers we've done with the University of Chicago. We have a study that we've done for allergens throughout the Chicagoland area. It's 100 different patient homes. So we're looking at kind of like an overview of the allergens we found in these different homes. And we are currently working on studies for COVID specifically. We're working on studies with the University of Chicago and with the University of Nebraska. And we're really hoping on getting some of that data from the University of Nebraska sometime soon. And so, yeah, that's kind of what we've done for any kind of diligence. We also have 5 different quality certifications. I know our lab specifically is ISO 17025. We are AIHA accredited. So we've done our due diligence. We're trying to do everything the right way. All of our assays in-house had to go through a validation process to be ISO 17025 accredited. Everything has to be done appropriately. Everything has to have multiple generations of testing. So yeah, we've done the diligence.
I mean, one of the things you always have to face, you're a newcomer with a new methodology. So of course, expect to get hit with a lot of arrows early on, because that's life. This industry, and consider the fact that you're walking into an industry that I think traditionally, Joe will probably agree, we feel jaded sometimes as professionals in the industry, because there's, I've had more stuff shoveled at me in the last 35 years, and a lot of it was good. I mean, not saying everything is bad, but there is some stuff that's come down the pipe that, like you got a question. So, so there's always skepticism. I mean, you have to, right. I mean, you're
of course
you're prepared to deal with that.
One thing I say that we did do, just to people with any kind of Q&A, on our website, we do have a 24 page pamphlet of any kind of Q&A type of questions to answer any customer questions they may have, as well as it has a list of our abstracts in there, and we have a scientific advisory board of professionals in their particular areas. There's doctors, there's allergists, there's scientists. So I mean, all that information, if people are interested in it, that is on our first page of our website.
And that website is airanswers.com.
Correct.
Yeah, it's in the chat. We've put it in the chat a few minutes ago to not
Great.
let people leave early, but it's in there now. So
well,
yeah.
there's a lot of people that are watching this in other portals where they can't get to the chat. Only the live virtual studio audience is privy to the chat.
Ooh.
I guess they could be listening too. So yeah,
they could be listening. So it's good to it's good to share that information. I would like to open it up to our studio audience now. Because they're chomping at the bit, and I don't want them to. We teased them, and we said you can come in and ask questions. So at this point, Susan, if you want, you could we can. Joe, do you want to go the format of just open everybody up, let them all in at once, or we just let them
let's
raise
try and
questions?
follow
Let's
a
take
good
some
procedure.
questions
And that
first.
is, did you raise your hand? And if you did, let's try and see if we can acknowledge you. So if you are still learning how to raise your hand, if you go to reactions, you can actually see there's a spot down there below near record and other stuff, is how to raise your hand, and then we can acknowledge you. And if not, we're just going to start picking on some people that are here in the audience.
So again, click the reactions button on the bottom control bar of your window, and then hit the raise hand button. So
how about we start with somebody who actually did have a question and clarification, and I still want to make sure we got it. So how about Terry Sofer? You asked very specifically, would you like to confirm your answer? That's one of our goals now, is we can bring you on and make sure that Rachel answered your question.
it's kind of like taking you back to school days when teacher made you go to the board. Susan will give you access to unlock.
Yeah, Terry is unlocked right now.
Okay. Terry, can you hear us?
Thank you. Well, this is very exciting technology. I guess I'm still at the point where I need to go to your website and dig into more of the details and the research. One of the concerns I had was presenting mold as solely an allergen bearing bioaerosol. But maybe your website clarifies that more.
Okay. Well, we're not beta glucan, we're not presenting it as an allergen. We're using it as the looking at mold biomass in that particular area. So
I take it that the way you probably want to present it is you're doing mold and other allergens, correct?
It's allergens and mold.
Okay. So I think maybe that clarification, terminology wise.
Yeah, because we, like I said, we used to do mold allergens, but I mean, they were too specific. We wanted to get, be able to tell people or allergens or not, sorry, excuse me. We wanted to tell people about the amount of mold in their particular environment, because that seemed to be what people really wanted to know versus those particular allergens.
So our live audience is very quiet today.
Oh,
in
wow.
general, there's not a lot of hand raising going on. So Joe, we could open it up and let them go full bore here.
Yeah, well, I think people, want to see who is here and what are some other questions that are happening. So that I'm open to that. Susan, if you want to open up some of the people's videos, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll allow your audience people to hop in. And again, if you're in a noisy environment, please keep your microphone muted unless you're speaking, just so you don't pick up a lot of background noise.
So Rachel, what were some of the things you guys learned through development of this? Like you were like, whoa, we didn't realize this, or we were thrilled to find out that we could do that. So there must have been some major learning curves through this technology and what you guys discovered. Can you share some of the good, bad, or other things that popped into your discovery elements?
What was I gonna? Well, one of the things was in determining, the size of particles you can collect. I mean, that was pretty wild figuring that out. So finding out that, because we knew we could do the smaller particulates because we could collect for allergens, but we didn't know that we could go down to 0.1 microns. And so that was kind of discovered with atomic microscopy. So that was pretty cool. Anything that we didn't expect.
It's a loaded question.
It is a loaded question.
Yeah.
I mean, the COVID, like I said, for figuring out that our device could collect COVID, that was kind of a hunch that started with, okay, well, we could do equine encephalitis. Let's see if we can't get someone to try to the virus with our device. So that's the whole story with the University of Chicago. And when they came in, it was exciting because we finally could get someone to try to collect COVID with our particular device. And, so it was pretty exciting to get those results and find out that it could collect in patient hospitals. So
I mean, with the with the pivot that you guys did, due to the pandemic, because obviously it probably changed, it changed everything, right? I mean, I'm sure like February you had a plan, February 2020 you had a plan, and that probably went out the window March 2020 as far as the release plan.
Yep.
So that pivot, then again, it opened up you're looking other ways. I mean, like as Joe asked you earlier, going down the line, you think how is this being embraced? I mean, obviously you're new to the market. You were just released last year. Is this, what kind of feedback are you getting from the industry?
We're getting some really good feedback, especially for the pandemic going on right now, and a lot of these companies want to validate their equipment. We're getting a lot of interest from school districts, kids coming back to school. They want to monitor the rooms and everything on a weekly basis to make it safe for the kids and the teachers to come back. We've had a lot of interest in big companies using it in their offices. So yeah, we have quite a bit of interest right now. I will say our sales consultants are they don't really have low days.
I'm going to say I always like something new on the bat utility belt anyway. So that's me. Patsy's from our audience. You have a question?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yep. Okay. Excuse my parents. I did not plan on being on here. So.
It's okay. I didn't either.
So I've been having a lot of potential clients, getting very detailed mycotoxin blood work done, therefore mycotoxin assessments of their homes, which in my opinion is kind of going off the rails a little bit. But I want to be able to address that in a professional scientific way, that makes sense, because I think there's a lot of stuff going on with that that is kind of leading some people down the wrong extreme path.
Yeah.
Of that isn't really, it's just, there's a lot of things that are being overdone there. Right. So my question is, I understand this can separate out the allergens. I understand it's a total, identifies all the molds with the beta glucans, glands, the biomass, and it identifies all the molds. Is it just saying it's here, whether it's viable or not viable? Is it,
it's actively growing?
Actively growing. Okay.
Yeah.
So that brings me to my next question is, like, what about all the non-viable mold that's in the air that we normally collect with, spore traps? We collect viable and non-viable. We don't really care if it's living or dead, quite honestly, when we're trying to develop an assessment of what's all going on in there, because it's all a problem. All can be allergenic, all can be toxic. All of it can harbor all those things. So we do it as a total, whether it's living or dead. Does this just identify viable mold, or does it identify the quantities and the types in the non-viable?
Well, this is what we do offer. It's with our beta glucan, it is viable. But what we do offer is we will take the sample, because we keep the sample in our laboratory for a year. We could take the sample and send it off for a qPCR analysis. So then we're looking at everything that's collected in that sample. So we could do a breakdown of different species of mold that's identified through the qPCR.
Okay.
But to clarify, it is a total aggregate sample that your initial sample that you provide is not, it's not giving any individual categorization, right?
But we will keep that sample, and that's the sample we will out for further analysis, that they'll look at all of the breakdown of species.
And that would be something in addition to, when we send you back that collecting device, then when you put on a chain of custody, I want a qPCR of this on top of everything else you're providing, kind of thing.
Well, that's something that you would have to work with our sales team on how exactly that would kind of work out.
Okay.
It would be something like that. You just work on the sales consultant, and they would get the information in the laboratory and put that in the system. So.
I mean, what this to me raises an interesting point that I tend to make ad nauseum over the course of this series, is are we even looking at the right parameters? Like, for example, Patsy, you mentioned something about, somebody doing blood work, right? So they're doing medical blood analysis on an individual patient, right? Looking to see how they've been affected by whatever constituent from, let's say, fungal exposure. But we, as consultants, are doing environmental sampling. And our environmental sampling, as far as I know, does not directly correlate with any medical outcomes or projected results.
Correct.
So we are not comparing the two same, do we even know that a spore trap has any relation in the level of spores per cubic meter to actual medical outcome?
Correct. So yeah, I'll just clarify that, it is very clear when I am there, I am diagnosing the health of the home, not the person, right?
Yeah.
But what's happening in our industry is there's people getting into it that are giving people a lot of data and tying the mycotoxin load in their bloodstream with the potential mold problem in their house, right? Now,
Yes.
may or may not
Yes.
be related. I don't know. I'm not gonna even comment about the health of you.
Right.
Good to know. Like, I want to know if somebody's ill and they've been diagnosed with a chronic mold exposure illness. Of course, I want to know all that. But this mycotoxin in your blood data, medical testing tied to remediation scam. Oh, I mean, did I say that? No, I mean,
Yeah, it sounds really, yeah. I don't know how would you feel comfortable even presenting that information to a particular customer? Like
no,
with
you can't.
allergens, the thing is, I mean, we're hoping to get so much data that we'll be able to kind of compare those health outcomes with the allergen load, but one might be more sensitive to cat than another person. So maybe a small amount of that cat allergen might have a huge effect on one person, and versus like another person, it might absolutely do nothing. So I don't know how you would measure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but I think what you're talking about. There's this, and it's been around for a while, and there's some people who are just crazy about it, and Facebook does not help this cause, because if you think you have an issue, you can go on Facebook and find 1,000 people. They'll be like, yeah, I got it in my blood too, and my kids got it in their blood. And they don't talk about diet. They don't talk about a variety of stuff that where these sources could or couldn't be from. But there are just a lot of people that are sending down an awkward message. So usually my approach has been, when I work with these kind of clients, is that I can guide you as to what's in your house, but only you can figure out what's the connection. And that is not my goal. But between you and your doctor, or you know more about your body than anybody else. So I can only provide with you what you're exposed to, and then you can focus on how that exposure may be impacting you. But,
yeah, and I mean that might be causing problems. You don't know. I mean, there could be, like with allergens. I mean, we have worked with physicians in the past where we provide them with. I mean, they know they're allergic to something, so we'll find like a variety of allergens in the house, but I mean,
the correlation's tough, though. I mean, that's the whole point. Is like to try to take environmental to medical. I mean, and I've been involved as expert witness in some cases, and I know we've got other people in this audience that do a lot of expert witness work. And we were able to successfully make that argument. On a few cases back in the day, where somebody had aspergillosis diagnosed, that the causal agent was Aspergillus niger. We found high levels of Aspergillus niger on both environmental surfaces and in the air. So, you could make a jury jump to that conclusion. But but did we have anything definitive to prove that what we were sampling was what was in that person's lungs? No. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't make that claim.
It never will be a linear relationship like that.
No.
But the problem I'm having is, or not the problem, but is that the mycotoxin driven assessment of the person and the house drives the remediation protocol, which is inaccurate.
But in all fairness, we don't know whether the mycotoxin relationship is a better indicator of what's going on than total spore loads, or colony forming units of viable. I mean, we don't know. I mean, right? In all honesty, Patsy.
Yeah, no, I totally admit I don't know. But
none of us do. Anybody that says they know is pulling that one out of their hiney. But the reality. So we have a lot of people in our studio audience right now. Nobody's chiming in. Raise your hands. We'll get you on camera. We can fire
going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of type chat, but you're welcome to jump in here and jump into this dialogue.
And I'll just say one more thing about that, and then I'll be quiet.
No, you don't have to be quiet.
It's
okay.
just that the corresponding remediation plan and directives are so out of whack when you're trying to filter all this in there, right? It's already a costly, expensive, out of a lot of people's budget to do regular remediation. And then you have somebody come in and diagnose with this mycotoxin diagnosis of them in the house. And it's this insane protocol that nobody, unless you're independently wealthy, could actually do, because you're cleaning every single solitary square inch of everything in your house. I mean, you might as well just, it just isn't, to me, it's an overkill, and it's not necessary, where we've been, following IIC or CS 520 guidelines and mold remediation, and people have been, being restored back to their health after that was done. And so why now, is this now, not only are you're quadrupling how much it costs to do remediation, whereas most people can't even do the just basic remediation that's needed.
Peter.
But one thing that's a real sensitive topic is that there's a psychological impact that happens for these folks. They're probably hypersensitive in general, and now they went on and found a variety of stuff. And whether or not it is actually in their home and impacting them, if they believe it is, then it is, and it's hard to overcome those things.
No, I know that.
Yeah, there's a real challenge with working with them, because you can never convince them of certain things, that the home is officially cleaned. All those things are just a real burden to overcome. So it is a long-term commitment with them, and it isn't just the physical things. You're also trying to get them to analyze their own environment to feel more confident about it.
But then after
Peter.
it's over, it's just back to where it was. Really, I mean, less the remediation. But anyway, this is a longer topic, and the only question I had for you, Rachel, was
we like to do that. Peter, chime in. He's got his hand raised and he's unmiked. What are your thoughts?
Okay. You have a little fan inside the device, and if so, what velocity does it pull air through?
There's no fan, there's no moving parts. It has a high voltage wire inside that forms like a plasma of ions that move around. So that moves the air around inside the device. So it's 150 liters per minute.
And what's the opening in the device that allows the air to come into and out of the device, come in and go out?
Yeah. See, there's these little holes
Okay.
on both sides of the device. So the inlet and the outlet region.
Oh, okay.
So it goes in, I think, on this side, and then it comes out on this side. So it allows the air, it pulls in air out, and swirls it around. Yeah.
And the science is electrokinetic capture, right? That's
Electrokinetic capture or ionic propulsion.
okay.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So,
Rachel, I actually want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay, because I actually got a bunch of questions from Jay Otis, so I'm going to ask all of his questions. First of all, where's the pricing information on the website, or does it exist?
There is no pricing on the website.
Okay, and ballpark, how much like for pricing in terms of collection, cartridge, lab fees, like ballpark figures?
Okay.
Anything
Well,
give us?
I am not the sales business particular person who's
Yep.
I don't want to give you the wrong information, because I don't know a whole lot about the pricing, and I do know that how they're working it right now, how we're working it right now is there's different plans for different people, and that's dependent on your needs and what kind of company you are and the volume that you want. So there's a lot on these different packages. So they're customized to the individual, and they're customized to the particular company.
Okay.
I can tell you our device by itself with no tests, because you just keep the device. The device is something that you keep as a tool, or keep it in your home, or keep it in your.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, but but for example, how do I find out what the price is?
You to contact our company. So if you go to our website, there's a contact us that you fill out that information, and someone will get in touch with you. There's
Okay.
also support@inspiritech.com. is a way to get in touch with a sales consultant, and you can start the conversation about what your needs are and what you're looking for particularly, and they'll work out the pricing with you. But I will give you an example. Our device, I know this much, our device with no test.
Okay. And then one last question. I actually posted your SARS-CoV-2 sample report, from the website for everyone in the chat. But do you have a sample report for any kind of mold allergens on the website as well?
Yes, we do. That should be on the, if you go to the first page on the website, there is, towards the bottom of the first page, it says a customer Q&A. There's an option for downloading like a pamphlet. There's about 24-page pamphlet. And so the reports are also in there.
All right.
We provided that link, Susan. You did. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then right now I'm going to pass it back off to Terry Sofer for his question.
Going to one of the previous questions stimulated a further question on my part with regard to the ionic means that it captures the sample from the air. I assume that's been tested so that to determine that ionic mechanism overcomes a typical CFM airflow in a residence, for instance, which might be as high as 1200 CFM a minute when the system's cranked up high. And in those kind of circumstances where that much air is moving through a house, for instance, the ionic mechanism is able to still capture a representative sample from the air.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes. Yep. It is able to do that.
And what's the volume again that your device is capturing? It's a fairly high.
It's 150 liters of air per minute. So
yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. And I forget, someone figured out the equivalence. It was like,
It's 10 times what we're typically capturing on.
Yeah.
If we're doing a spore trap, the volume.
Yeah. So someone gave me some kind of cutesy, it was like 130,000, enough air to fill up 130,000 party balloons or something like that. I don't know.
Party balloons?
Over a period of time. Yeah. I don't know. So never mind. I can't use that.
I would compare it to spore traps as a concept, the amount of air they do. Like this is equivalent to actually using 120. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Ish. 10 times ish. No, but again, these are great questions, Terry, and that's a good one too, because I can take that question back to how efficient is the capture efficiency of a 15 liter per minute pump with a spore trap on it. I won't use a name brand of the spore trap, but what is the collection efficiency of that 2.5 cubic feet that you're collecting on the thing? And is the air stratified? And you're certainly not getting a homogeneous sample of the environment that you're taking the sample, and you're getting a small little slice out of the pie. So I don't think any. So my point is, I don't think any sampling methodology that we're currently using is all that freaking accurate either.
So the only thing that I'll add to it is one of the challenges that I think that works in a combination, because I actually do want to capture for dust mites, I want to capture what's on their pillow or what is on their bedding or in some of their areas that may not have been able to circulate into the air. So they may or may not be breathing it. So I think that this is giving me something that I can figure out as a direct exposure versus also what are some of the conditions that have been that are found in their environment that they spend a lot of time in. So I think that this is a combination of, and no assessment should be considered to be concluded by one test. It is a visual assessment, and you use these types of gathering techniques to confirm or deny what you thought is happening at the home. So I think that this is a new opportunity for us to expand what we're finding in the house.
Yeah, I would totally concur on that too, Joe, because one of the things, as consultants, newbies, but even veteran consultants sometimes rely too heavily on one technology. And it's going back to like the Book of Five Rings, the whole samurai book, or don't get tied into the long sword and not be able to use your short sword. But the bottom line is, I think the more ways we can look at it, because no sampling methodology or no analysis methodology that we currently use is all inclusive. It just isn't. So the more pieces of the puzzle are, you're gonna have a better profile. So Joe, I know you're going to say it. We're at that
There
time.
you go. I'm coming in. It's that time. So
I would keep going. That's the thing. I'm ready to do an overdrive show right now.
I had no idea it was.
Yeah, it's so much fun. Sometimes we do
right.
overdrive, and we'll actually run like an extended segment and put it out separate. I mean, if you're available, we could stay on for a few more minutes, but
okay.
but many people need to leave, so we want to try and have
we
a
get
conclusion.
that. So we're going to do the wrap first,
So I usually try and come up with something, but I already asked that earlier about where you're going to head. But I guess where do you think that you're how you're going to benefit people's lives? I mean, it's an obvious question, but I just want to hear from you, Rachel. Is that your device is going to change how people live in their corporate or home world? So I thought I'd just let you elaborate on. That's a very unique concept. So I'll let you kind of take that.
Yeah, I would think it's important to find out, that people know what they're being exposed to in their environments themselves, and kind of, I don't want to say we'll relate it back to health is kind of our main thing, not to the point where we're saying, okay, well, these are dangerous levels of allergens in your home, but more of, okay, these things are present and these could be causing or exacerbating your particular symptoms that you're going to your doctor for. And then you can figure you need to reduce that load that's in your home, reduce the load that's in the particular facilities so that people can feel better. Because just being in this business, I've been in it for about 5 years now, and just talking to different customers about their particular symptoms that they're going through, and it's bad. Some people have really, really serious asthma and particular respiratory problems that things in their environment can really affect, their well-being. And with COVID especially, we want it to be safe for people to come back. When we realize, you have a lot of the valid equipment that's in places to reduce the COVID-19 in the environment. But we get it. People want to see that it's actually functioning, that it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's a see it to believe it. So it's so they can see, well, this purification thing is in its place. It's doing what it's supposed to be doing, and we know that because the air answers is in there measuring the amount of COVID in the air. So it's more of we want people to feel coming back into work. We want people to know what they are breathing in their air. Knowledge is power. With different labels, I know with food, what you're putting in your body. It's like you should know what you're breathing in is. So.
Well, I mean, I would think certainly, right now, again, dealing with SARS-CoV-2, and in the indoor environment, and that's on everybody's mind. Certainly having some way to take longer duration views of what the particle load might be in the space. We could argue whether there's truly value in having that information or not. But certainly there's, there are measures being taken, right? Portable air purifiers, ventilation enhancements, a lot of things being done. So what you're offering is a way to at least do longer duration views of what's happening in the space than a short duration snapshot or some surface sampling. So that's pretty neat. We had two more questions in there, and I want to just try to get them in before we close. I know, Joe, you're going to kill me, but is testing a residence for mold/allergens, or if testing, sorry, I read it wrong. Do you recommend multiple tests run concurrently as opposed to, or do you go to a central location, I guess, for residential?
Well, it depends on what you want to see exactly. I mean, if you're if you have a larger establishment, larger facility, we recommend that people use one device per HVAC system that's in that particular building. So, I mean, you may want to get, if you're interested in the rooms, or, if it depends on, I'm kind of going all over the place here. It really depends on what you want to test. So if you're in a large industrial building and there's offices on different floors, you may want to buy 2 or 3 per floor. You may want to test particular lobby areas that are going to be inhabited by more people in high traffic areas.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same question for any other sampling too. Like, how many spore traps you can take in a space, or how many IAQ monitors are you going to put into the space for CO and whatnot, right, Joe?
Yeah.
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's about your visual assessment. You need to, in your interview, like you need to, that determines everything you should be doing as a plan. These are not the solution. These are the tool. You have lots of tools you pulled out of your kit. This is just one more tool to add to what you're doing.
Exactly right. And that's the problem. But there are a lot of people in the world that rely on the tools as the method, the tools as their whole overall, like whatever, like their whole litmus test. And that's crazy. I agree with you. You didn't say that, but I said it. So we're at that point. Joe, this is where Joe gets to do a shameless plug for Hayward Score, because Joe's here on behalf of some stuff too. Tell us about it.
Yes, so I'm a healthy building scientist for Hayward Score. You can go to haywardscore.com, ironically, to learn more about how your home is impacting your health. It's a survey. It takes you about 10 minutes or so. And through the survey, we found a lot of people learn a lot about their home that they kind of forgot about in terms of maintenance or other exposures or conditions, or leaving their turning their fans on or leaving them on a little longer. So if you want to learn more, haywardscore.com, and even just on that general page, there's a lot of great information, not just from COVID safety stuff, but just general habits and other things you should know about your house. So we appreciate the exposure. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. And so I'll jump in and do the shameless plugs for Healthy Indoors, because, well, I'm kind of involved with it. So first off, I guess it's, we got some announcements. So I got to throw this out there. We have a global edition of Healthy Indoors that we have been teasing for months on end now. It is coming out in the month of March. So it'll be a quarterly digital publication, free, but it'll differ from our monthly Healthy Indoors USA edition in that it's going to be more global centric. The stories will be more, from all over the planet. Actually, we have stories from Australia, Singapore. We have Italy. There's a piece in there from the UK, and of course we'll have some US and Canadian stuff in there too, and that'll be expanding as we go. So that's available. So let me jump to the screen, because we've changed some stuff on our website. Those of you who go to healthyindoors.com, you'll see the menu bar has changed. The magazine only still shows the Healthy Indoors USA edition, because we haven't released the other one. But when you go to subscribe now, you have the option to actually subscribe to either the USA edition or the global edition. So you both options, and they're both free. So get both. Why settle for just one? But the other thing I really want to push out is the online global community. We are releasing, we're actually in beta right now for this, but we're going to be offering an online global community that will allow you to network on, in the industry. And there's never been anything quite like this. So I think it's important for me to just elaborate. The global community will give people from all over the planet that have an interest in indoor environmental issues an opportunity to share, network. Think of it in terms of a specialized social media and information and communication platform that's very indoor environmental centric. So there's never been anything like that. Yeah, there's Reddit subgroups and there's Facebook groups, but we're talking about something that we're going to be hosting with Healthy Indoors that'll allow everybody to share and network and do some great stuff, live events. Just super exciting. We're very excited about it. That's in beta. That'll be coming out toward the end of the month. So you can go to healthyindoors.com. If you click on the community tab, like we showed there, it'll actually take you to that page where you can sign up to be pre-registered for the community. So again, you can't join the community yet, but you can pre-register for the community. So that's kind of cool. I guess that's all the plugs I really want to do. Next week, Susan, chime in for me. Get unmute. I guess my brain has gone. I'm blank, and we have next week EIA, correct? Am I correct? Next week's show.
Yes,
She's looking at me like give Ron Burgundy the teleprompter.
You're gonna have to get a teleprompter.
I have a teleprompter. I just never program it.
Next week is a special conference preview from the Environmental Information Association. Brett Kynock and a bunch of other people that are working on this conference are going to be here.
So join us for that. That'll be a live chance for a little preview for their event that's coming up at the end of the month, and you can speak with them. Also, the following week we have Jeff and I believe Connie May. I'm not sure the dynamic duo. Jeff May, who is a long-term IAQ veteran, published many books. My House is Killing Me.
1 and 2. Right?
And two, yes, there's a new edition. We're going to actually be doing a review in the next issue, or maybe the issue after of Healthy Indoors. It probably won't be in the next issue. So it's just like, I saw the eyebrows go up. It's like, in the next issue, what are you insane? But soon.
That's not true. I'll read it.
Well, I'm going to read it, but I don't know if we can get it published, by the time the March issue comes out. So anyway, yeah, lots of great stuff going on. So check out healthyindoors.com, follow us, join us here for the show every week. And again, we greatly appreciate all of your patronage here. Thanks so very much for those of you in our live virtual audience. Thanks a lot. This is great to have you here and have that opportunity to interact with you. And also to all of you that are watching it on the various portals we're streaming to, as well as watching it after the fact or listening to the podcast. Again, healthyindoors.com will get you to all the recordings, the podcasts, the videos, the magazines, Okay, done.
Rachel, thank you for hanging out for all of that.
And listening to me
Yeah, we did share your email address as you put in the email to us.
Great.
So we did let people have that access to that. So you may be getting some feedback, and I'm sure lots of questions throughout the day. We also sent the support email, so that we definitely and overloaded the chat with a variety of your links. So we appreciate your time today.
Oh, well, thank you so much. This is fun.
So Rachel Roble from Inspirotech, the director of labs, or head of labs. Thanks so very much for joining us. We're really excited and wish you the best with your new technology. It's seems kind of groundbreaking, so we're excited.
We'll have you back before the year's end to see what's going on and what people are doing with your devices.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
excellent. So I guess with that, it's time again for me to bid adieu. And sometimes I just feel very.
You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now. Just say goodbye.
Oh, stop it. You're making me feel very melancholy here, and okay. Anyway, so thank you so very much for joining us on the Healthy Indoors live show. I'm Bob Krell, your host and publisher of the magazine. We'll see you again, same bat time, same bat channel, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here for the Healthy Indoors live show.